Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Debt is increasingly shaping the financial lives of South Africans, from rising reliance on unsecured credit to growing money stress across generations. As the debt index marks 10 years and the money stress tracker reaches 5, despite easing interest rates, the latest data paints a picture of consumers under severe pressure. To unpack what the numbers tell us about the state of household finances or whether there is a way out, we're joined by Benay Sager, who's Executive Head of DebtBusters. Benay, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we're looking at 10 years of the debt index, which gives us a pretty revealing picture. What's the biggest change in South Africans' relationship with debt that you have observed over the decade?
Yeah, it's a long time, and I think we're proud to be able to do this longitudinal study for as long as we have. I think the biggest change, I would say, is, and maybe if I have to pick one thing, is actually our interest rates have been more to our favor over the last 10 years. They have, over time, come down. However, how much credit we use has not. So I think we probably need to take some lessons about the necessity of using credit for the right reasons. We're certainly using more credit now than we did 10 years ago. So there's probably a bit of learning there for all of us.
As you talk about the use of credit for the right reasons, I mean, it's not always the case, is it? Because just bringing the conversation around debt counselling to the forefront, that in itself has received quite a bad rap, with some consumers seeing it as a last resort or perhaps a sign of financial failure. How best would you explain the pros and cons of debt counselling?
Yeah, and in terms of, debt counseling is there to help consumers who struggle with repaying back the money that they borrowed. I think we need to understand that first and foremost. In the end, if we borrowed the money, we must pay it back. I think that's very important. And I think consumers who do choose that option, which, by the way, since the National Credit Act came into play in 2007, over 2.2 million consumers have used debt counseling to their benefit. And those who do choose, they choose to actually repay back the debt on different terms. And I think this is where we need to understand. Sometimes life does not work out the way that we would wish it to be. And I think it's great that we have a recourse in the National Credit Act to help us repay it back. Now, what we need to understand about debt counseling, firstly, it's not an overnight fix. Generally, it takes a very long time for the debt pressure to accumulate and get to you. And that also means it's going to take a long time to remove that pressure. How long is long? Well, somewhere between 3 to 5 years. I think depends on how much debt one has and, how much they are able to pay back every month. So we need to understand that. While you're in the program, because you are committing to pay back the debt that you already borrowed, you are unable to access new credit or new debt, which I think is fair because we need to demonstrate that we can manage existing things. From that perspective, some people may consider the long-term and the inability to access credit as detriments. I think if you think about why the solution was put into place, it has to be like that. We have to demonstrate that we can repay it back. Now, what does it actually help you with? One, it helps you with getting your finances back in order. It helps you renegotiate with the creditors on different terms than you had originally committed to in such a way that it works for you if you need the solution. Meaning, we start as debt counselors, we start with what the consumer is earning and what they can pay back, as opposed to the other way around, what they can afford to borrow. So I think the positives, in my opinion, of course I'm biased, the positives need to be weighed against the negatives. In my experience now, having done this over a decade, as you say, in overwhelming case of of situations where someone needs the solution and they don't take it up, what I see is that over time, actually their finances deteriorate further. So I think that's something to think about.
I'm glad you emphasize the part about the process, because some people may not be aware of the implications of entering into debt counseling, or even the process and the impact on future plans like buying a house or a car. I mean, you're essentially locked for between 3 to 5 years. But on top of that, we're seeing more young people entering debt counseling without the correct information. Some have even said that they've been pushed into debt counseling, and because of that, they cannot reverse the process, they cannot borrow money, they cannot buy houses and cars. Consumers entering debt counseling are spending 64% of their take-home pay servicing debt. Are younger South Africans getting into serious financial trouble earlier than in their working lives, as opposed to previous generations?
If I can answer it in two ways.
Yeah.
One, I think we are certainly using credit more than we did before compared to 10 or 20 years ago. And I think that's a testament to, if you think about the life before the National Credit Act came into place 20 years ago, and I think here we must commend the National Credit Regulator for doing a great job of managing this act. Before 20 years, if you think back to early 2000s, interest rates were very high, and the disbursement of credit was not uniform, and it was actually quite an unknown, intransparent thing. I think the National Credit Act has brought a lot more transparency and a lot more availability, because now we know what maximum interest rates could be, which are, by the way, much lower than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We know what we're going to get back if you sign up for credit. Now, that has definitely allowed more people opportunity to access credit. Now, coming back to your question, are we overusing credit? I think that's the question behind the question, particularly at young age. What I'm seeing, what we're observing is that there's been a shift, if I can describe it. Generally, those under the age of 30 are quicker to respond to challenges that they face, meaning if they see themselves in a difficult spot with regards to repaying back their debt, they're not really waiting. They're going for it, and they're actually choosing the solution. On the other hand, what we're also seeing is for younger people, they're actually less interested in borrowing money for asset accumulation. We're seeing a lot more of the use of buy now, pay later type products, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and the like. And I think the relationship with credit, they're much more informed about interest rates and the costs. So they are much more cautious about when they borrow. And it seems like the younger people are quicker to address when they believe something isn't going right. So I think for the long term, it may look like more of them are choosing the solution. It may look like a bad thing. In my view, it's a good thing, because they're learning the habits of money management before they hit the age of 30, which is really what we want.
Very well. Thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. Benay Sager, who's executive head of DebtBusters, really just saying that debt counseling is not an overnight fix. Once you're locked into it, it can take about 3 to 5 years of you not being able to access any credit at all. So it's an important decision that one should consider. And taking a look at the markets now, Asian markets ended lower. This is amidst deepening global technology and semiconductor sell-off. Persistent energy market pressures linked to Middle East export uncertainties also dragging stocks lower. The Nikkei is down 3.1% at 2,134. The Hang Seng up just 12 points at 25,483. And the Shanghai Composite Index falling 2.4% to 3,894. Over in the United States, Wall Street closed lower on Tuesday with semiconductors leading technology declines. Fading hopes for Middle East peace pushed oil prices higher, which in turn pushed bond yields to multi-year peaks, feeding concerns about borrowing costs and inflation. The S&P 500 lost 0.69%, the Nasdaq Composite lost 1.33%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average 0.22%. The JSE's all-share index trading higher today, up 0.2% at 113,545. The rand's at 16 rand 25 cents to the dollar, 22 rand and 3 cents against the pound, and 18 rand 86 cents to the euro. Gold trading at $4,362 an ounce, with platinum at $1,740 an ounce, with Brent crude oil at $92.01 per barrel.